Good morning. I'm Anna Marie De La Vega. Thank you for joining us. This is Focus, and today we're talking about Our Place Nashville, and we're talking with the newly appointed Executive Director of Our Place Nashville, Jordan Collins. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is super fun.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's tell people, first of all, what is Our Place Nashville?
So Our Place Nashville is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is, the aim is to empower adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities to have independence, to live on their own, but within an inclusive community that will support them and give that kind of social networking and support. So if you imagine having an intellectual developmental disability and getting the keys to your own apartment, you may have the skills to be independent. You can cook, you can clean, maybe you can get yourself dressed, but you don't have that community and you can end up being so isolated.
Yeah.
And so many of our folks end up living in a basement of a family member or staying with mom and dad. And then mom and dad start to age. And the question is, how can my son or daughter live their best life, their best independent life?
Yeah.
And so Our Place Nashville creates these communities where half of the residents have a disability and the other half do not. They may be students, they may be struggling musicians, they may be older folk who need affordable housing. And we say, let's be a community together. Let's eat a meal together once a week. Let's watch movies together. Let's hang out. And let's be a community that allows everybody to thrive together. And instead of isolation, we're supporting each other through this crazy thing called life.
That's amazing. So it kind of hits like both ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
The younger people, older people.
Yeah.
Because isolation is a horrible thing, and it's detrimental to actual physical health.
And a lot of folks that have, that are on the autism spectrum or have Down syndrome, they want to have real friendships and real relationships. And so often you're resigned to having a teacher or a nurse or a family member look after you.
Yep.
And in this context, nobody's paid to be your friend. These are real relationships. These are your neighbors. These are your housemates that you're spending time with.
Yeah.
And so that social impact of just having a community can absolutely change the trajectory of your independence and your life. You
could be the funny one.
Oh, absolutely. You're the cool one. You're the one with the best DVD collection. I mean, there's so much there. One example, we had a resident who was really into this really obscure anime show, and potentially that would be something that was, uncool about this person because he was obsessed with this anime show. We had a student who moved in with us from South Korea. From South Korea, and she knew that anime show because she grew up watching it. And so this young guy and this female 24-year-old PhD student from Vanderbilt connected because they both liked the same show that neither of them knew that anybody else would like. And that's the power of community and being genuine around people and getting to know people for who they are, is you find that maybe you have a lot more in common. And instead of othering someone, they become part of that community.
I like that phrase, othering someone, because a lot of times people who have no options that they know of, but to live with a family member, for example, you're there, they're in the room, they're in the basement, they're whatever, and they don't have other people who are like their friends come over. Their friends don't come. They don't have friends because they didn't go to maybe traditional schools, things like this. So are there people who come into an Our Place Nashville or Our Place community who are like, I'm not used to this?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reality. And we're getting better at school inclusion. So like your classroom will have people with and without disabilities when you're in high school or in middle school. And then you kind of hit 21 and a lot of your friends go off and get married and move out of state. And suddenly then you're isolated, right?
Yep.
And so this is that transition into adulthood to say, just like you and I did when we went to college or when we hit our 20s and had to make new friends and kind of adapt to being an adult.
Yeah.
We're all doing that at some point in our lives. And so our friends with an IDD, we shorthand use the word friends. So if I say that, that's what that means. But our friends have that opportunity to make those relationships just like we all did in our 20s. And those are real relationships, real bonds. The other side of what we've always wanted to do, one of our co-founders is a professor at Vanderbilt, and his dream was always to create social change agents out of students that have this experience. They get to meet folks that are different to them. And then as they go on to be pastors or nonprofit leaders or doctors or business people, they are able to include people with disabilities in their work. And so that's kind of this ripple effect,
Yeah.
So we're affecting the people within the community, but we're also saying this can be everywhere. This can be always. You can always have these relationships and be inclusive of people who are different. And we've had students who have gone on to start their own communities or their own nonprofits because of what they witnessed when they were in college. And so that's a big part of what we do as well.
So this is generational.
It should be. Yeah. I mean, it's more about the concept of including people who are different. We're doing it in these houses. And yes, we have 6 communities that are doing this, but we really believe this can be done anywhere. It doesn't need to be a nonprofit organization. It doesn't need to be a beautiful home in whichever part of town. It can be in your own community. It can be in your church. It can be at your business. Hiring somebody with a disability is a huge way to help them get a leg up into independence. And jobs are so important. Mm-hmm. And so we work with our residents to help them find jobs in Nashville, to work with there's some amazing nonprofits in Nashville that are helping people find meaningful work that gets paid living wages and they can afford their rent.
Yeah.
And so us partnering with all those organizations, we're all playing a different part, but we're all up to that same goal, which is that everybody deserves that opportunity to be independent.
So Our Place Nashville is a self-pay facility, right?
Yes.
But you were talking about the fact that there are all kinds of different options.
There are.
For communities kind of like this.
Yeah, so we're supporting folks who really want to have independence and want to kind of live on their own, but that affordability piece makes that impossible. So some folks need 24/7 support. They may have higher needs, and there are certain things provided by either the state or there's private funded nonprofits where maybe it's $5,000 a month and you have this really incredible experience and you have 24/7 support. Yeah, so we're right in the middle in that we're private pay. But our rent is as low as $325 a month.
Oh, wow.
So yes, you're paying with your own money, but if you're working a job that doesn't pay super well, or if you're on a fixed income or whatever that situation is, you can afford to pay your own rent and have that. Again, that's kind of that dignity of saying, I have my own place. I can afford to look after myself. And so almost everyone that's with us is making enough money to, without support from family, pay their own rent and live in Nashville. And we're close to Nashville. I mean, we're in South Nashville, we're in North Nashville, we're close to downtown, we're on bus lines. And so you're not, out rural somewhere. You are part of the city and you're able to give back to the community with your work, with your volunteering, and with just being part of Nashville.
What about volunteering?
With us?
You said with their volunteering.
Yeah. So we have some of our residents. Yeah, a lot of our residents will work maybe 2 or 3 days a week because that's kind of all they can do, either physically or mentally. That's just I've
done my job here.
Yeah, exactly. And then those other days, it's like, what can I do? So there's a lot of opportunities where they may go volunteer at other nonprofits. We had a resident who would volunteer at Saddle Up, which was a horse equestrian facility for kids with disabilities, and he would go walk the ponies with the kids on there. And so, or volunteering at an animal shelter, or volunteering at Crossroads Campus, which is another animal shelter. We have residents who want to give back and have time and have love to give. And so we have residents volunteering at the Nashville Zoo. We have residents working there as well. But just a way to say, let's fill our time. Let's be constructive. Let's just not sit around and, wait for life to happen. Let's go make an impact in Nashville. And so we're helping people. Again, it's that dignity, that feeling that I am a part of this community in this city.
We're talking about Our Place Nashville, and we're talking to the newly appointed executive director, and we'll get into that story a little bit later, Jordan Collins. Now, you mentioned just sitting around. A lot of times people who have a lot less options than folks who are at a place like Our Place do sit around a lot, watch a lot of TV, watch a lot of DVDs. What about health issues caused by that and health issues that are being helped by helping your residents be more active?
Yeah, that's something that we see a lot of. It is tricky. Again, we all did this when we went to college, and suddenly, you're setting your own meal times, you're setting your own schedule, and you end up becoming a sloth or whatever. So I did that. And so for a lot of our friends, it's just that empowering them, one, the dignity of failure. Like, you're allowed to fail, just like I was. You may gain some weight, you may be unhealthy, and that's okay. But then when you get there, then you say, okay, how do I want to live my best life? And so that's where we come in with those opportunities to say, we work with the Vanderbilt Dietetic Internship Program, and they send in Vanderbilt dietitian students to come and teach our friends about healthy recipes, healthy eating. We work with Special Olympics Tennessee to work with fitness and exercise.
Oh, wow.
We have friends who've set up walking clubs around the neighborhood. Just let's go on a walk together in the evening. Or so our students and our housemates that live with the friends can encourage that kind of active lifestyle. Or let's go to the gym together. We both have a membership. Let's go together. Let's go to the YMCA. And so I think, again, the goal is that the community would lift each other up. And it's not, hey, to live here, you have to exercise 3 days a week.
Yeah.
It's, hey, your friends, everybody here wants to live their best life.
Yeah.
How can you do that as well? And what do you want for your life?
Yeah, we're all going to go for a walk. You want to go?
Right. And that changes it from, hey, you have to exercise today because, you need to.
And dietitians to help out as well.
Yeah, and the healthy eating is a huge part of independence because it is much easier to throw a pizza in the oven.
And ramen noodles.
Right. And so they actually work really hard to find recipes that are super accessible and easy to understand and easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And they print them out with like pictures, step-by-step guides. And so we're really just trying to say, hey, if you learn one new recipe this month or you learn one thing that you can cook, take that, continue on that. And we work with Nashville Food Project as well. And they deliver a meal once a week for our community meal. So we all eat together around a table because food is community, right? I mean, it's having a meal together and talking. We do this thing. It's basically highs and lows, but most of the residents call it your happies and your crappies.
Oh, that's great.
And you just talk, around a meal, you're talking, but also that healthy meal portion is really important because you're trying new foods. We had one house that did a broccoli challenge to see who could eat their whole plate of broccoli first, so it's really that kind of like we're lifting each other up. We're working together on this. It's about community, but with community comes all these other things like healthy living, healthy eating, and all of those things.
The isolation is what takes all of that away. And so this is what the community is helping.
Right, absolutely. If your friends are doing it, you may want to join in.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. If everybody else is doing it, definitely want to. Who is eligible to come to our Place Nashville?
Yeah, so we accept anybody with an intellectual developmental disability who wants to live independently. So we'll do an assessment on the front end and just say, hey, do you have the skills? Do you want this? Families don't place people in our house. This is someone's choice to move in with us, right? So we don't want you to be forced into a friendship house with our place. We want you to want that. And so we have these interviews, we have these discussions, and yes, it's a lot of nerves.
Yeah.
And transition is tricky. So we're used to that portion of it taking some time, but we have a waiting list. So people may join the waiting list today and they may move in 3 or 4 years from now because there is so much need and we're building housing as quickly as possible. But we are not a program that says after 2 years you move out. So some of our folks have lived with us for 10 years since we started. And so that waiting list is kind of a time for you to mentally prepare, to practice. We send them a whole bunch of resources to say, these are some things you can be working on at home with your parents to get you ready to be independent. And so, anybody can apply and reach out. The waiting list has been closed just because it was getting too long and we felt bad about that. But we've just opened new housing. And so we're going to be reopening the waiting list in the summer and start bringing in those families to say, okay, as you prepare for this next phase, what can you start doing now to make sure you are ready when that day comes and when you get that call that says, hey, we have an apartment for you. We have a place for you. Come on over. And they'll be like, okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
What does our Place Nashville look like as a facility?
We have a couple of different models of housing. We have 6 different communities. So we have 6 different properties that we call friendship houses. But that's confusing because the first 2 are apartment complexes. So these are 1 bedroom, 1 bath. This is for our folks who are most independent. They want their own space. They have their own kitchen. They're doing their own thing. That's our first 2 models. And then we moved into what we call shared housing. So this is a big house with a bunch of residents. You have your own bedroom, your own bathroom, but you share a kitchen, you share a living room and a TV room and a dining room. And that model actually has proven to be really successful because people like the more bumping shoulders in the hallways, sitting in the kitchen together. It creates more community naturally. Sometimes in apartments, it's easy to just close your door and never come outside.
Yeah.
And so we've done a little bit better with the shared housing. And so we continued that model. So we have, like I said, 6 different properties. We're up to 150 residents. units for residents that will be filled, and the last few will be filled in the next coming months. And so that shared housing model is the most affordable, and it helps the most community happen naturally. And so that's become what we're aiming for now.
The most affordable meaning what?
Well, when you share a house, I mean, you're splitting the rent on that house. And so, our apartments are about $700 a month, but our shared housing, like I said, is as low as $325.
I see.
So it also depends on how much are you making, how much can you afford.
Yeah.
All of our housing is income restricted. So it is for people who make under certain income limits that are set by the government. So it is truly affordable housing, which is wonderful. But like I said, half of the residents are friends with an intellectual or developmental disability, and the other half are just housemates, students, older folk. And so we work really, really hard to pick the right people to be in that community. And then we have a team of resident support staff that meet with the residents monthly, check in, how are things going? Do you need any supports? Are you having a dispute with your neighbor about whose TV is too loud? And just kind of help that community gel and work together.
So if you are a student or an older person and you get that discounted price, basically.
Yeah, same price.
And you're living there, part of what your responsibility would be to interact.
Just be a good person. Yeah, absolutely. We put a number on it just to help you think about it, but we say 3 to 5 hours a week. So that's an hour a day, basically, or less, of just interacting with people.
Yeah.
Just sitting down and watching a movie or walking around the neighborhood. And most of our residents do far beyond that.
Yeah.
But some of our students are busier. So that's their goal. But really it is, natural community. People say, what should we do? And I say, I don't know. What do you like to do? And they're like, well, I like board games. I'm like, great, let's do a board game night. It's not about a program that we're like, at 4:00, we're playing bingo.
Yeah.
It's about, hey, what do you like to do? What do I like to do? Let's do that together, whether it's an anime show or the Nashville Predators. We'll find something in common and we can do that as a community.
Our boy has special needs and he's into wrestling.
We have a lot of wrestling fans.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we get pizza and the folks are all ready before it starts to watch the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. What do people who are listening need to know about our place?
Our place is, yes, affordable housing. That's an important part. And in Nashville, we need more affordable housing. But what you need to know about our place is it's about community. And that's what I'm always talking about, is that it's more about the opportunity to go through life with people than it is to have affordable housing. Now, everybody needs that affordability, but if you just get put in an affordable house and don't have community, that's not going to solve many of your problems.
Yeah.
It may give you a little bit more money in your bank account at the end of the day. But what we all really need is that inclusive community. So whether you're old, our youngest resident is 21, our oldest is 72. We have college students, we have people with PhDs, we have people with no high school, we have people, who come from a lot and people who come from a little. We have people from multiple continents. We have international students. We have people who've never left Tennessee. So it's this really a community of everybody is welcome and accepted, whether you have a disability or you don't. We have folks that have physical disabilities, and that's what it is. It's community despite your differences, and it's a community including your differences.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun. We don't always tell people who's a friend and who is a housemate, and so sometimes people are like, does that person have a disability? And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe they're just quirky, and so we're all just treating each other like humans.
That's
and I think
wonderful.
that makes a big difference.
Is a special treatment? Here's how you do this.
Right.
It almost sounds like a futuristic sci-fi environment, like birds.
It's a social experiment for
birds
sure.
Singing, and I love this.
Yeah, and it can sound glorious. There's also the less glorious things, when someone clogs up the toilet, or when the thermostat is on the wrong temperature and we're arguing about how cold or warm it should be.
Oh.
It's real life.
Real life.
And our goal with our resident support staff, who are social workers or special education background, are saying to our friends, how can you solve this problem? Go talk to your neighbor and ask them not to set the thermostat to 65 because that makes you too cold. How can you be empowered to solve this problem? And so every day, just by being in community, we're all learning skills. Whether you're 65 or 23, you may be learning skills on how to better be kind to your neighbor and how to better get through the world.
If you're just joining us, I'm Anna Marie, and this is Focus, and we're talking about Our Place Nashville. Our Place has a newly appointed executive director, Jordan Collins, and we're just kind of basically laying out what Our Place is. What about mental health needs?
Yeah, so that is something that we've realized, especially since the pandemic, of being so isolated. A lot of our folks, they may have an intellectual or developmental disability, but they may also be diagnosed with a mental health condition. And so for us, it's really important that your conditions are mild and managed, that you're able to be, again, that independence piece. If you are unstable or unable to be independent in a community, then this is not the right setting for you, right? Because you are sharing a house with other people. Yeah. But as long as you are, going to your appointments, able to take your meds by yourself, you're on top of it, you're getting support, you're good to go. And so our social workers, our resident support staff, work really close with those folks who need that extra support. And the cool thing is, when you're living in with a house with people, you can't really hide much. And so when somebody's struggling and they're going downhill or something is harder in life, somebody in the house will let us know. They'll say, hey, you should check in on so-and-so. Yeah. And so that allows us, our social worker, to say, okay, let's talk to the family. Let's talk to the support circle and say, hey, is there something missing here? Is something going on? Maybe you lost their job, or maybe they are having difficulty with a family member or something. And so we can kind of step in and alert that whole support system and say, hey, how can we come around this person? So the big difference between Our Place and other providers is that we are not a service provider. So we cannot do the daily tasks. We can't give you your medication. We can't get you dressed for the day. We can't do those daily things. You're independent. But what we can do is bring in your support circle and say, hey, we've noticed, we call your brother or we'll call a meeting together and say, hey, we've noticed in the house that he's kind of getting really frustrated and struggling to get along with people. Do we know if there's something going on? And then together with the resident, we empower them to say, this is what my needs are. This is where I'm struggling. And then we work together to find that. So if it's like, we can tell there's something going on and we're like, I think it'd be great to get you some therapy. Here are 10 therapists that we know of that are awesome with this community that would love to meet with you and that take insurance. So then we're kind of that connector between our residents and the community. Because the reality is, where you live, everything in life happens connected to where you live, right? Like your job, you come home at the end of the day, you have feelings about work. Your relationships, it's in your space. Your food insecurity, do you have enough food? Somebody will notice if your pantry is empty, right? Yeah. So everything, so much of what is going on in somebody's life can be noticed in that home because that is their safe space. Yeah. And so when you have other people looking out for you in your home, they're going to be able to say, hey, this person needs extra supports. And then that's when the community can come around and support them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, you are the newly appointed executive director, like a fresh penny, just minted. So tell me about that. That's been kind of a big transition thing that's going on.
Absolutely. So our co-founders were Jaco Hammond, who's a professor at Vanderbilt, and Carolyn Nafee, who was the executive director for almost 10 years. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. And when they started this back in 2015, they needed somebody to move into the house to be the resident director, which is kind of like an RA in a dorm. They kind of just keep the peace and alert if there's something going on. So Jaco reached out to me because we knew each other, and he said, hey, I was young, was just getting married. He said, would y'all like to move in, to one of our friendship houses and start this program? And we, care deeply for this community. We care deeply about the idea of living in community. And we were newlyweds. We were off on our own. We had no money and we needed an affordable apartment. So this was perfect for us. And so we started that first community. It was, 3 friends with an IDD, a couple of Vanderbilt students, and then me and my wife in some apartments. And that was in 2015. And we did that for a couple of years. And then I'm originally from South Africa, so I went back to South Africa to do some nonprofit work with my wife. She's a social worker, so we are a pretty good team. And we did some work there, and we had a baby in South Africa, and then we were thinking about coming back to the States, and COVID hit, and of course, that's when everybody changed their own lives. And so we came back to Nashville, and in those few years that I was gone, for about 4 years in South Africa, Our Place Nashville had grown from I think when I left, it was 30 residents and it had gone up to like 80. And they were like, we're going to be up to 160 in the next couple of years. We need an associate director. And so in 2021, I was able to step into that role. They did a national search. I just kind of threw my name in the hat and they said, Jordan, you're perfect for this. You've lived it. You understand it. And I was overwhelmed by that opportunity because I knew that the intention was for Carolyn to be able to retire eventually and for somebody to take that over. And so me stepping back into the organization, it was kind of like coming home. I mean, I literally did live there. But being able to come back and to lend my skills that I had learned overseas and as I had grown as a nonprofit leader. And so this year, Carolyn finally has retired, even though we've been begging her to stay for as long as possible. And she said, nope, I have to retire. And so it's kind of passing on the mantle. And it's saying for the first decade, our place has grown so fast and so well.
Yes.
And now how do we take this? We were a mom and pop shop. It was just Carolyn and me for the last 4 years, and it was just her before that. And so how do we now take this to having a team? We have multiple staff members now. We have properties all over Nashville, and we want this to be able to go across Davidson County, outside of the county, outside of the state. This can be replicated everywhere.
Yeah.
And so this is just the beginning. The first 10 years were that foundation of us learning how to do this and experimenting and making it happen. And now we have a model that we really believe works. And now we can take that into this next chapter. And I'm just honored as a young executive director. I know you noted my age.
He's like 12 or something.
No, absolutely not. But it's scary, it's scary having that mantle passed to you from a generation in Nashville that were fierce nonprofit leaders, that are all retiring right now. And as they should. And so now this next generation has to take it forward and has to continue that work. So I'm just honored that the board of directors and the founders believe in me enough to say, go ahead, Jordan, and make it happen. And this is my first week and it's going well so far. We had a fundraiser last night at 3rd and Lindsley, raised a bunch of money for this kind of next chapter. And we're just excited to see where this goes.
That's wonderful. So Carolyn was so committed. She was not going to retire until she saw the opening of
the 6th property.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So and it kept getting delayed, which was funny because she was like, why does it keep,
She's like, I'm going to be 900.
She's like, come just build it. Okay. So we had people start moving in, over the weekend. And so,
oh my God, just over the weekend.
Literally. And it was supposed to happen months ago. She's like, it better happen before I retire. And it did. And so that's what we're focusing on right now. It takes time to move 50 people into units. Yeah. We have a big property, but it's going to take some time. And so we're going to start working on that over the next couple months. If anybody listening is in that lower income or middle income bracket and needs affordable housing, reach out to us because we're looking for good people to be resident directors. So kind of like the RA in the dorm. We're looking for people just to be housemates. If you need a place to live and you want to be part of a community that you can make an impact, you come along. And we have a waiting list for our friends that's a mile long, but for our neurotypical housemates, our folks without a disability, we need folks. So we're looking for students, we're looking for older adults that need affordable housing. If you're a struggling musician, if you're on a fixed income because of a physical disability, whatever the case is, we potentially have a spot for you, an apartment or a house, a shared house. So reach out.
That is so wonderful. I love what you're doing. Just bringing the world together.
We're trying.
I love that.
We're trying. We cannot do this work without the local community. And so it's opportunities like this. It's small businesses that support us. It is individual donors giving us $25, $50. That really makes a difference. We don't take federal money. We don't take big money from the state. We get a little bit of city money, but the rest is from kind people that want to see community happen.
Whoa.
And so for us to survive, we need those community partners. So if you have a business that wants to support, if you want to come and teach a life skills class on how to manage your money, or if you want to come and do a line dancing class, I don't know. We have all kinds of opportunities for people to get involved, and we do not recreate wheels. We are not trying to be 100 different nonprofits. We do what we do, and we think we do it well, but we need everybody else and their skills and their talents to help us make this work. So if you're out there and you want to support our place or come along and join us for an event or an evening, please do. And check out our website, ourplacenashville.org. And there's a bunch of ways to get involved on that website.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
Jordan Collins, the executive director of Our Place Nashville. We'll put some links on our Focus Facebook page. Make sure you join us again next week. I'm Anna Marie, and that's Focus.